Well, good morning, everyone. We've got people joining us, which is awesome. So I recognize some names and some faces. So we are at 9 o'clock, and so we are going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Jennifer Steck. I'm a member of the leadership team for Artburst Studios, and we are so delighted that you're here joining us for another session of Artburst Live. This morning we have Jennifer Yoswa, Hannah Wave Flower, and Kim Harrell joining us. Now, Jennifer, Hannah, and Kim are all part of our An Unexpected Twist show, which opens May 29th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on the Artburst Studios website. We love doing these Artburst live chats because it's an opportunity for all of us to get to know these artists just a little bit more. So you may already be familiar with some of the artists, but there's some artists that you probably haven't met before, and you are going to be so glad you're here to not just hear from them about their processes and what inspires them, but they've got sneak peeks for us, which is actually my favorite part. So let's get started with Jennifer Yoswa. So not only is she one of our fantastic artist, but she's also a member of the leadership team. So good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, Jennifer.
So how are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm ready to go, ready to talk about this exciting show.
Yes. Oh, well, we're ready to hear about it. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I can, especially because I have notes that remind me who I am.
I have
So
notes.
you do too. Okay, good. I live in Colorado with my husband of almost 40 years. I have two grown children. My son lives in San Francisco, and my daughter lives with her husband just around the corner. And she is about to make me a grandma for the first time. So that's what's coming up in my life. I am retired from various roles in the same school district for 30 years. I have been an oil painter for more than 20 years. I consider myself a visual storyteller. I create soulful narratives of characters that kind of echo my voice. So when I'm feeling heartbreak, I paint about heartbreak. When I'm feeling joy, I paint about joy. I also paint about humor and love and all the unexpected quirks in life. I find inspiration mostly in lines of music and in poetry or in things people say or words from books. That's it.
How did you transition over to being a full-time artist?
Well, when I was teaching and working in my school district, I on the side was doing art. So even though I was a full-time working educator, I was a pretty full-time artist as well, especially during the summers. I spent 2 years illustrating books while I was working. And so I have been doing both. The nicest thing was when I retired and I didn't have to do both. I could do something where my heart really was. And so I have not stopped. And I've been retired for 8 years now. And I had zero problems leaving all the stress behind and getting into my studio and creating. It was great.
So would you consider it a full-time job then? Or do you,
Absolutely.
yeah.
My husband's like, you're supposed to be retired. And I'm like, I am retired, but I'm doing what I love. So it's different. But yeah, I'm working later, longer hours for sure. And I'm constantly thinking, brainstorming and jotting stuff down. And I have a app on my phone called Google Keep, and I'll talk into it. And I'm like, this would be a good title for a painting, stuff like that. So it's always in my head. I'm always a painter, even when I'm eating dinner.
So you paint with oil and cold wax, but your art journey didn't start with that, correct?
Well, it started with oils. I just recently discovered cold wax. I think someone talked about it on online somewhere. And I watched a video about how to use it, actually a couple videos. And so I mix cold wax now with everything. I absolutely love it. And the other thing I do that's kind of a little bit different, is I cut up old paintings. I cut up my own artwork and I take the pieces and I save them. And I have a big box for big pieces and a little box for little treasures. And I use those scraps in two ways. If I'm stuck on a painting, I don't know where to go, I'll get out my scraps and just start trying things on and taking pictures. And then I'll look at the pictures and I say, that looks good. I think I'll go with that. And then I'll stitch it on. Or if I don't know what to paint, I'll take a blank canvas and put a face on it somewhere, or a hand, or a teacup, or trees, anywhere on the canvas, stitch it on, and then that forces me to work with it, with what I've done, and it really promotes creativity and makes me think critically about what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I do have my box if you wanted to see. So, okay, this
We
is
absolutely want to
my
see
little box.
all of your treasures.
It is. Well, I'm starting to run out too. So a painting is fair for getting cut up if it's older, if it's been in shows and hasn't sold. And the reason I started doing this is because I can't paint over my paintings after I varnish them. So the only thing I can do is add to them with something that's not paint. And that's kind of how this started. So let's see what we've got in here. Oh, I've got this, just a little eye. It's like it had glasses on. I've got parts of flowers. I've got little tiny hands with objects being held in the hand. I have orange trees. I've got some really crazy stuff. This one's a good one, actually. I've got this hand. So when I have a painting with a person, I can just make it look like the hand is on their shoulder. Because I like to hide objects and do really unexpected things. This is half of a face. So I did a bunch in this unexpected twist collection. I do have a bunch of stitching going on. Here's a face I can use. So if I create a face and then I don't like it, or I want it to be off in some way, then I can stitch this over the top of it. This is going to end up somewhere. It's a girl with whiskers. So we'll see where that one goes. But yeah, it's something a little bit different. And I know that I'm not wasting my art if it doesn't work out. And I've never, not once, ever thrown away a painting. In 22 years, I've never I think it's bad juju and bad karma for me. So I keep all of my paintings, and then if they're sitting in the closet for over a year, they're fair to be cut up. So
what is it that gave you the idea to start doing that?
Because I just didn't want to waste my art. I just wanted to recycle it. I just feel like I put so much energy and my heart goes into so many of those pieces that to just have the whole piece disappear from the world just seems like it would be an empty spot for me. So if I take it, I can look at like I know one that I did for this show, I can look at that and go, oh my God, I remember painting that 10 years ago. And finally it found a new home. You'll see. I'll show you that in a minute.
Oh, you know what? I love that concept, and I love that you challenge yourself, so a blank canvas on some of them, and you put the piece in and then wait for it to tell you what it needs next. So there's a lot of history and thought that goes into each one of these paintings.
Yeah, I feel like my paintings sometimes have old souls because of these old parts that I put in them. And I have I have a very vivid visual memory, and I don't remember much else about anything. But I have a really strong visual memory. So I look at my pieces and I go, oh yeah, I remember struggling through that. And oh yeah, that was a good show. And that piece didn't sell, so now it needs new life.
Yes. So are there paintings that are more difficult than others? How does that work with the different paintings?
I struggle through almost every painting I do. In fact, if you could see my camera roll, you would see a painting go from a pretty decent start to something completely different in the end. And if I do have the scraps, that's helpful. But honestly, I struggle through every painting. I just go over and over and over because I'm intuitive more than I don't draw out a plan ever. So that that doesn't work for me.
Yes. And you work on multiple paintings at the time, correct?
Yes, I had 20 going for this show. I know I'm not going to have 20 in the show, but I work on 20 pieces at a time. And I like having them almost at the same stage. So, and if I've got paint left over, I just grab another one and start painting on that one, put it away, grab another one. And that really works for me, except when it gets near the show and I have to have 12 pieces and I have 20 incomplete pieces, and then I start to panic a little bit. And so, God,
Ah,
but I'm
well, they
getting it
all
done.
come together. I've seen your pieces for this show. People are going to be so excited to see them. You know, when we talked about the theme for the show and decided on an unexpected twist, I thought that was a perfect theme for you, but it seemed like you struggled a little bit with
I was against it. No, I, okay, so I paint unexpected twists a lot. And something happened to me emotionally when the title was put there. Like, this is like, this is what you have to do. And all of a sudden, I drew a blank. I was very much struggling in the beginning. And then I realized that I do this anyway. So just don't think about this theme. Just sit down and do what you do, and something will happen. And it did. That said, I do have two overarching unexpected twists in my entire collection. One is I incorporated a moon in every piece, whether it was inside or outside or whatever it was, it has a moon in it. And then the other thing is I really wanted to play with the titles. So I used alliteration in my titles. So I have 2 and 3 word titles, and each word starts with the same letter. And I have some examples I could tell you. I have Silent Serenade, which I'm going to show you. I have Triple Trouble, A Farm Farewell, Mustache Maestro, Moonlit Moment, and more. So they all have alliteration, and that makes me really happy. So that's a twist. I don't usually do that. And yeah, and the moon, that's a twist. It's hard to get a moon in an indoor setting,
that.
but I figured it out.
To do it. You managed to do it. So now we are to one of our favorite points, and that is we want sneak peeks. Show us some
Okay.
sneak peeks.
Okay, let me see here. I have 4. All right, so this was the one I was talking about, the piece that I stitched on. I did not know, I was having fun with this painting and I didn't know where I was going. And originally it was a woman and with a beret, because I do that a lot. It's a good start. And then it turned into this. And it's absolutely one of my favorites. So this entire piece right here was stitched over my work that I was doing. It was a woman sort of facing the front. And this piece is from one of my Zodiac paintings. It was a woman in I had a Zodiac show at a gallery, and I did all the Zodiac sign paintings. And this was one that just didn't sell, didn't work out. So I cut that out, and then I used that on here. And when I put that face on, I just kind of went like that. I just felt something. And so I like doing like unexpected little hands and stuff like that. And he reminded me a little bit of a Picasso acrobat, because Picasso painted a lot of acrobats. And so I went along that theme, and he's simple. I'll show you the back. So that's what the stitching looks like. And his cheek is not stitched on, but I stitched around it so that it looked like the rest of the piece.
Oh, so it gives
And
a little more texture and a little more of a
yeah, yes, exactly. So he's just real simple, but absolutely one of my favorite. He's the Silent Serenade. I think he's serenading the moon or vice versa.
I love
There-
the angle of the face. That seems like an unusual angle for you.
yeah, and you were there along that ride because I kept sending you images, and you just were like that one. Yeah,
That's
that,
always good to
yeah,
have fellow artists around to
absolutely.
bounce ideas off of.
It's
So,
the best. So, oops, this one is Mustache Maestro. So this guy originally was a man with like a head full of flowers, And slowly but surely, the flowers kept disappearing as I was painting, and he ended up with a derby hat. And then I looked through my scraps and I found this was a piece of hair from a girl in another painting. I'll show you what's on there. And so I trimmed it just a little bit and I put it on him and took a picture and then looked at the picture and was like, oh my God, I love that. So as I was painting his story, his mustache was getting bigger and bigger. It actually extends all the way out. You kind of can't see it. And because of the story that he's growing this amazing mustache and it just doesn't stop. And he's always trimming it and it's just doing no good. It just keeps growing. And I was thinking about weeds and flowers and plants. And so now he's not only growing a mustache, he's growing plants from his mustache. So that was an unexpected twist. I didn't know I was going there with that one, but he makes me really happy. And there's my little moon, my pink moon.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
he's mustache maestro. So um this one I have no stitching on, but I really love her. So sometimes I will just paint a person. And so in this piece, I painted a person with a chicken on her head and then challenged myself to create the story. So this is her. This is the farm farewell. So her story, her story, well, I didn't know what to do with her really. I just had the chicken on her and her hands were like that. I almost put a cello in her hands, but I couldn't quite craft a story from that. So I put the hat in there and I realized she's leaving. So she was barefoot. I put shoes on her and I put the suitcase behind her and then the egg and then did the farm. And I painted this to look like an old-fashioned frame. So it might be a painting like in somebody's house of some relative. But this girl is leaving the farm, not because she doesn't love it, but because she doesn't love the farmer. So that's her story. She loves the farm, but not the farmer. So she's out.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
that's that one. And I did not know that was going to happen. So I do like to challenge myself by just putting something there and just saying, okay, now figure it out.
Yeah.
And I've got one more. This one's kind of fun. This is Triple Trouble. I have this thing about period clothing, a really weird clothing, and I've painted, this is my third, this is called Cartwheel Farthingale skirt. And so I put these two women on the page looking at each other. And at first they were drinking tea and there was teapots and stuff. And then they were drinking wine. I switched all that. And then they were playing chess. And then this girl's face started to get kind of not pretty, which I really like. So I put a cigar in it and gave her a mole and a slight mustache. And I thought, okay, now we're on to something. She's trouble. And I gave her a little tattoo. And I'm like, they should be playing cards and she should be cheating. So this is called the tell because this one can tell what's going on here, but she can't see the card behind her back. And then this bird is in cahoots with her because if you look really closely, that little foot right there is stealing a card. So I just was humoring myself. They were inside, they were outside. I put the curtain on. I'm like, okay, I can incorporate my moon by putting a curtain up, making it look like a window, and then I can get my moon in there. So that's the tell. And oh, and there is a little thing. So I like to add extra feet and hands to confuse the situation. So, oh, and she's got some Jack Daniels right there. So she's trouble. She's purely trouble.
Well, and
So
don't you tell us that these women sometimes reflect you?
maybe it's the me I want to be.
Oh, well, Jennifer, we love your work. We can see other pieces behind you, and I can tell
I
everybody.
do. I see a painting back there on one of the
Yeah.
Hey.
So, oh yeah, yeah, very true. It looks familiar. So a number of the pieces behind you are also going to be in the show.
Yeah, the
So,
three, four, and that one, these four.
yes. All right. So, is there anything else that you would like to tell the art lovers that are on the call today?
Oh my gosh, just thank you for going on this ride with me. I am not a normal person. Sometimes I don't even know if I'm sane, but bringing my thoughts and my heart into onto the canvas is just like it's like therapy. It's fun and it's never ending. And I'm super grateful that people come along with me on this journey and accept me for who the crazy self that I am.
Oh, well, we love you dearly, and we are so excited that you're in the show, but also that you're a member of the leadership team that helped visualize Artburst and where it is today. And we're very lucky to have you on every step of that
And
journey.
I'm lucky. I'm
So,
lucky.
all right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. We really can't wait until the show. Now, keep in mind, everybody, that you can go on the website and go under the Meet the Artist section, and you will find Jennifer's profile there. It will have links to all of her social media, to her website. If you have not subscribed to her newsletter yet, you'll definitely want to do that. But it's a great way for you to follow Jennifer's journey because she's involved in a number of things, not just Artburst, but she's a very busy person. I'm really curious to see how a grandbaby changes the art and whether we're going to start seeing little babies in some of the paintings or not. But we're just so delighted to host you, Jennifer. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now, for those of you just joining us, I'm Jennifer Steck, so I'm the host for the Artburst Lives. Today, we're joined by three incredible artists. Jennifer Yoswa just finished her interview. We have Hannah Wave Flower joining us shortly, and we also have Kim Harrell coming up. So our next featured artist is Hannah Flower. And oh my gosh, Hannah, it's so good to see you this morning.
Hi, you too. I'm so excited to be here.
So we met Hannah at the Cherry Creek Arts Festival here in Denver. It's one of the major festivals across the country. And we walked into her tent and we're just in awe of the work that Hannah creates. And not only is she an incredible artist, she's also an incredible person too. And we are thrilled. This will be her first time in an Artburst show with us.
Yeah, very true.
So Hannah, tell us about yourself.
Let's see if I can remember who I am. um, I'm originally a West Coast girl. I'm living on the East Coast right now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But I grew up in Oregon, Eastern Oregon, on a little farm. I went to school in Eastern Oregon, where I studied art and psychology. And then right after graduating, about a month after graduating, I moved here to Pittsburgh, and worked for my aunt, who's an artist. And just kind of that experience of being around her and all of her artist friends really helped me kind of um, just up my game as an artist, just being surrounded by that creativity. And then the last couple of years have been a nomadic lifestyle for me. I live in between here in Eastern Oregon, and I kind of travel a circuit back and forth, and I go home to visit friends and family. And then I just started teaching in Oregon a little bit, and doing classes and stuff like that.
You know, it's so true that hanging around with other artists, I think in many ways gives us the confidence to move forward. Because speaking as an artist myself, there are moments when I go, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if my work's good enough, you know, and that recognizing that a lot of artists feel that way and they push through, that has to be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And also like Jennifer said, she said she's not sure if she's sane. Being around other people that aren't sure if they're sane, you get that sense of community. And then you just kind of build kind of that mastermind of a community where you get to bounce ideas, and you show someone a piece of artwork and they're not afraid to critique it with kindness. But yeah.
And then at some point you hit that point as an artist where you can go, I love that idea you said, but I'm heading in this direction. And they respect that, you know, so they
Right.
feel like they can give you feedback without you losing yourself in that process. So here you are, a full-time artist essentially. How did that come to fruition?
Yeah, so after college, because I'd kind of just taken a pause after college because I had thought about going into art therapy, because I also studied music and was thinking about incorporating that. And then really when I moved over here, I built a little basement downstairs, or built a little studio downstairs in the basement. And my current body of work kind of just started flourishing and coming about. And that got me really excited. And so with that kind of excitement, that momentum, I started to apply for shows and slowly started getting into a few, and then kind of took off from there and just kind of ate it up. I loved being around people, which is kind of why I studied psychology in the first place, was to be around people. And I kind of got that benefit of being around people, but also kind of the looser environment of being at a show and just being able to talk to tons of people in a day, which I love. So
Yes, yes, it's there's we do online art shows, and there's something about standing in front of your work in person with somebody who wants to know the story. I mean, it's the festivals are a lot of work, sandbags and traveling and making sure all of your artwork is safe as it goes. But there's just something beautiful about that.
yeah, that connection kind of just my favorite is when somebody will come into my booth, and I don't mind as long as somebody asks. There's a lot of my work that I don't mind if people touch, because I'll use found objects in my work, and so they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, can I touch this quilt?" And I'm like, "Oh, please do." And just that's an extra layer of connection also. So
It is. It is. Well, and that's why we try and do these kinds of interviews and things, and why we try to connect you so closely with the art lovers, because there's something truly magical about having a relationship with a piece and with the artist who created that piece.
100%.
So, one of the things I am really fascinated by with your work is you combine mediums that we don't usually see together. So, tell us about graphite and acrylics.
Yeah. So I have been drawing people ever since I was a little girl. It's just a little quirky part about me, just me with my number 2 yellow pencil with the red eraser, just kind of drawing all of these people that I, either imagine or someone I met, and I'd just be drawing them because I wanted to be an artist so bad ever since I was a little girl. So I just start drawing. And then as I started studying in college and then also like kind of creating my own practice, I'd never wanted to lose that thrill of just drawing a face. But I also love to paint. And so I didn't want to sacrifice either of those things. So I just kind of was like, well, what if I combine them? And so I kind of stuck with all of my physical features of my figures are in graphite. And that's just because I love doing it. I love drawing. And then most of my backgrounds or environments, is what I call them, are just a combination of acrylic paints, found objects. One of my favorite pieces that I did last year, I used my great grandmother's crazy quilt in the background, and she was a artistically minded person. I like to think that she would have loved that. But yeah, so that's kind of where that combination comes from, is just a adoration of both mediums.
I love that because it really it makes the faces stand out so much more somehow, and you really capture so much personality. Your drawing skills, well, I mean, obviously all your skills are amazing, but your drawing skills are spectacular. I mean, it feels like you could pick the people up off of the piece. It's wonderful. I love them.
That's one of my favorite parts about having the black and white versus the color, is kind of the I love psychology, and I love kind of the study of mindfulness, and so it kind of separates the person from their environment. And so it kind of, in my imagination, it's like it separates their thoughts from the rest of the world around them, and what makes them from the rest of the world. And I kind of like that I can visually represent that. And I've played around with that over and over again. Sometimes I'll do the clothes black and white, sometimes I'll do them in color, and just kind of see what it does emotionally to the piece. Just an experiment. Every single piece is me playing with the color and things like that. So
So, and you draw the faces and then collage them on. Is that right?
most of the time, yeah. So I use Bristol, which is I have found to be kind of the perfect combination between watercolor paper and like a smooth surface drawing paper. So it allows me to paint on it if I want to, because it absorbs the paint a little bit differently. It doesn't get too wrinkly, and then I can also draw using graphite or pen if I want. And so I like to have a little bit more control when I draw the facial features. So I try to keep that on like that smooth surface Bristol. And then I adhere them to sometimes it's like a wood panel, and then other times it's a found substrate. Just kind of depends on what I'm doing. But yeah, and I think that also adds to that kind of that juxtaposition between the background and the figure.
Yeah, that extra depth in there.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I find fascinating about your work is when I look at it, in many cases, I see you in these pieces. Now, as artists, we always talk about how, our souls are in our work, or, all of the passion and love that we put into our projects appears. And your work, you do some self-portraits in there, and I love that.
Oh, thanks. Something that always makes me laugh in my booth is I'll be like sitting back in my chair, just taking a moment to kind of relax, and then someone will walk in, maybe walk past, and then they'll do like a backup, and they're like, "Is that you?" You know? And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." I started doing kind of strictly self-portraits during the pandemic, just because I was pretty close to after I'd graduated college, and I was my only model, right? And then I kind of found out how liberating it was, just kind of emotionally to paint and draw yourself and represent yourself in that way, to make a silly face and then translate it into my art and then show it to people, kind of as this is me. And I found that super liberating. And then I slowly started doing what I call amalgamations, where I'll take a photo of sometimes someone that comes into my booth, and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I know I'm a weirdo. I love your face. Can I steal a photo?" And then sometimes I'll just paint or draw them, and then sometimes I'll either kind of do a mirror look, or I'll take a photo of myself in a similar pose with different lighting, and I will set them both off to the side, and I'll use features from both faces as I draw. And so a lot of people, they're like, "That kind of looks like you," and I'm like, "Well, it kind of is, kind of a little bit me." And I found that my features in my work changed, and I was able to, because when you change one feature, if you make the eyes bigger, it's going to change the space that you have for the rest of the expression. Um, and so I always work from the eyes down, because it changes where the rest of the features go. And so sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, if the nose moves down, then I'll take a photo of myself and be like, oh, the face would actually be turned this way," and just kind of build it as I go. And that's what I call my amalgamations. But
I love that. I need to take lessons. Well, just because that's one of the things that I think drawing is so powerful, and it makes you really look at the details. And so, yeah, what you've done is just masterful. It's just astonishing, and it's courageous too. I see it as courageous because I think for me, a lot of the times I'm on the other side of the canvas, and so it feels like a little bit of a protection barrier, and you are out there up front and center, just being who you are. So I admire that a lot.
thank you. Thank you.
So Rebecca says, "Oh my goodness, I loved Hannah's work before, but these explanations make me love them even more." So, okay, it's sneak peek time. So what do you got for us?
So I've had a little sneak peek here the entire time. This clock here is actually part of a bigger piece, but I've got its partner down here, and I've practiced this, so hope we make this work. So I've got this guy, and you can't really tell it from here, but there's a hole drilled right here. And this rope, I've got, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 yards worth of this rope, and it comes in and it ties into here. and it's called Time Flies. um, and the fun part about this piece is it's kind of there's so much freedom in how it's installed. So you could have this clock on the other side of the room, winding around, coming down and into his hand. So yeah, it's my fun little playful piece called Time Flies.
Love that. I love that. There's so many meanings to it. Now, what is the clock itself? And was it a clock that you just found someplace or?
Yeah, so this was a super kind of basic clock that I found, and I'm actually still looking into it. We'll see how this goes. I'm trying to break into the face. It's taking some time, and I don't want to change it too, but it'd be a conversation to have with a collector if they'd like it. I'd like to break into the face and kind of paint my own face of the clock. It's just taking a moment to figure out how to do that. And then these are Bristol wings that are adhered to the back of it, but they're removable. I have kind of like a temporary paste on there just so it can be moved around if somebody would like that to be a little bit different. But yeah, wait, what was the question?
Well, I don't remember what the question was, but I will say this. What I love is that now, okay, for all of you art lovers, you get to be involved in how this piece finishes up. So it is really kind of a joint creative effort between you and Hannah to make sure that this piece works really well in the space that you have. But you can see in here, so Hannah's drawing in graphite and then how the colors kind of highlight that. So
I started doing acrylic wash, similar to the way watercolor would work, on top of the Bristol, which is why this there's kind of this difference between the background and in here. But I just started playing with that acrylic wash, and honestly, I'm loving doing it. So just a fun little tidbit.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, well, Jennifer, let's see if I can read this. Jennifer says, incredible, I'm blown away. Rebecca says, dang, this is cool. Okay, so Courtney says, Hannah, do you have a piece that you really enjoy doing or that you love to explain to people?
I think one that I don't think I have it with me, but it is on my Instagram if someone would like to check it out. One that I frequently have conversations over is called Inner Child. Um, and it's a little girl peeking through the blinds of an adult face. And there, it's kind of a self-portrait, kind of not, as a lot of my work is. And kind of just that concept of having this little kid inside of you for the rest of your life really piques conversation with a lot of people, which I love that. And then similar to the one I just showed, I have a piece called Drama Queen and Active Listener, um, where that's these two tin cans, with the string coming out, and each one has one, and one's super dramatic, and she's singing into this tin can, and there's a string connected to another piece with a girl with a wine glass that's shattered, and she's like, eek! And it's got a string attached to it, and that's one like this that I kind of get to work with people. I got to work with the woman that bought it, and she's like, "Well, how could I install this?" And we just kind of had fun building it into her space, which I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then I've got one more piece, and
Oh, yay! Oh,
yeah, I feel like it's fitting. The title is With a Twist. Got this girl.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, yep, got a little martini on her head with the twist on her hat.
I love the colors in that.
Thank you.
They're
Yeah.
subtle. They're very subtle, but beautiful. We all should have a martini about this time, huh? So beautiful work, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like art lovers to know that we didn't cover this morning?
I don't think so. Just a huge thank you for joining me on my journey.
Yes. Well, we are so thrilled that Hannah is joining us for the first time. So hopefully the first of many shows that she'll be doing with us. She does have a number of shows that she will be in this year, and some may be in your neck of the woods. So don't forget to go and look on Hannah's website and look at her show schedule. And of course, be on the Artburst Studios website at 10 a.m. on May 29th to see all of her stunning work for this show. You are sure to be absolutely delighted. So thank you, Hannah, for joining us.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay. Well, now this is kind of a fun way to start a Saturday morning, isn't it? We should probably do this more often, I think. So now we're going to talk to Kim Harrell. Now, Kim happens to be a local artist here in Denver, and I'm lucky enough to live within probably, I don't know, 6 blocks from her studio. So if you're ever in Denver, make sure you contact Kim and get all the details so you can pop into her studio because it's pretty magnificent, and plan on spending some time there because everywhere you look, there's a treasure. So good morning, Kim.
Morning.
So tell
I'm
me,
not a morning person.
oh, we're here. What time is it? Well, it's 9:42, so it's not as early as it could have been. But so tell us about yourself.
I was always attracted to creative people when I was younger, and but I didn't understand or have a concept of being an artist as a career or anything. And but I took art classes in high school and even in college and art history, and I've always dabbled in it. But like Hannah, I studied psychology initially and then changed to sociology. So, but I ended up marrying a British man, and I went to the UK and I discovered beads. And when I was younger, I had dabbled in making jewelry by going to craft stores and stuff. But I grew up in Denver. But I took it to another level in England, and it was just a hobby. I worked in an office and I started making, well, I had all these beads and I figured out, well, I better do something with them. So I started making jewelry, just simple, anybody could do it, and selling them. And then a friend put on an amazing party for me. I made a lot of money, and I was like, oh, okay. But I got bored with the beading, and I started doing research on where to study. And so I ended up at university. So I have another degree specifically in silversmithing and jewelry design from in London. So I lived there for 14 years. I went there in my early 20s, and I moved back here with a new husband, a second husband, who I had all my babies with. I have 3 daughters, all grown, and started my business here, but they were all young. So the business was, I did what I could, but I had a gallery for 6 years. But in the last 10 years, I've really been focusing on my work. And in the last 5 or 6 years, I've really, the business has just been really successful. I had a very successful business in London, but coming here was really a challenge because I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. But yeah, I've always made my living since 1997. I've been making my living as a professional artist. So yeah, but I live in a house. We bought a house. We've been here 15 years. We have 3 daughters, only one's at home, and a cat who you might jump on my lap. Who knows?
Well, we love animals, so we're all good.
I know.
So how would you describe your jewelry?
Minimalist, simple, elegant. I guess bold in a way that sometimes it is big, but I think I really, by keeping the elements minimal, you're not like, ooh, look at all those amazing techniques she's doing. It's more like, wow, look at that chain. If I made the chain, which I've started doing, I haven't always done that. Or wow, that setting is stunning, or that stone. So you can see the trees, not just the forest. So I simple, elegant, contemporary, clean lines. I try to tap into archetypal elements. This is the psychologist in me. I love Carl Jung. So color is really important. If I use color, I'm very, very, very intentional. But I love the metal. So I'm celebrating the metal a lot of the times, although recently there's been a lot of gemstones in my work.
Beautiful gemstones in your work, I might add. So, how did you discover jewelry in particular? What is
Well, the gateway drug of beads. That's what I tell all my students, the gateway drug of beads. And I just got bored with the beading. I mean, this was back in the 90s, the early 90s, when the crazy wire wrapping you see now didn't exist. I mean, there's some stunning wire wrapping. It was literally the kind of hippy dippy, stupid wrap around, stick it on a chain kind of piece of leather or something kind of crap. But the wire wrapping now is phenomenal and very complicated. I've always been interested in jewelry. My mom had this jewelry box that you'd open up, and there's different levels, and it was always a mess, a jumble of stuff. And I loved there and sorting it out. And I had a knack for unknotting chains, and sometimes it's, "Ooh, I like this, Mom. Can I make earrings?" Like a necklace she didn't wear, and so I made earrings out of something. And so and my mom was always crafty and always, 3 kids. She always had something to do. Something for us to do. So I think, and I was in Girl Scouts and all that crap. So I love doing things with my hands, and I like cooking and sewing, and I've tried knitting, and which is an interesting thing. So I love textiles. I love texture. I've always had a strong affinity to the crafts. I love art, and I grew up with art. You can see I've got a bunch of it in here, but there's something about making something with my hands that I just really love. And the jewelry, I don't know. I think jewelry is something that everybody wears, even if it's one piece or it's something somebody has. Like, there are people who don't have art. Not anybody here, I know. But be your friend if you don't have art or books. don't invite me over. There's something about jewelry, like from the beginning of time, people have wanted to adorn themselves. So yeah, I mean, simple, like you see a shell on the beach with a hole in it, you find something, some sinew from the buffalo you killed or whatever, and you just straight on, and there you go. And then people get creative and inventive, and when you have the time to do that, and you celebrate things, jewelry is celebratory. It commemorates. It's something I had to come to terms with, because I worry about where our materials come from, mining and all that crap. But the good news is, almost all the silver and gold that all of us use is recycled. People try to make a thing like it's sustainable. It's like, well, most of it's recycled, actually. There's only like a mile of gold in the whole world ever. So it's just constantly recycled. So, and then the gemstones, yeah, you can definitely have an argument about that. That's part of the reason I never really used diamonds for a long time. And I do use sustainable diamonds now. But it's for me. If my clients want to know, I'll tell them, but it's not usually a problem. But the gemstones, I just love. I could talk forever about what I do. I've been doing it for so long. It's not even work. It is, and it's not.
Yeah, well, we love the passion. So Kathy says, "Kim, I have always enjoyed the way you play with scale, big stones, wide bands, but with interesting details like tiny diamonds, gold bezels, and overlaps."
Yes, that's kind of my unexpected twists. Again, like Jennifer, she says she always had it, but then she was told, "Oh, you have to incorporate it." It's like, wait, what? I felt the same way. I totally could relate to that. But then, like, hey, wait a minute, I do it already. I just never talked about it that way. So, like on my ring bands, if I may bring one up for an example. So you see the ring, and then you've got the little detail of the diamond, like Kathy talked about, and then you turn it over, and you've got an overlap with the ring band, so it's not a hidden, invisible seam, which is traditional in jewelry making. You don't really want people to see where it's connected. But I love showing, and one of the things about my work is I love showing hammer marks and accentuate edges and shape and form. And so it's all about not just the individual elements in the piece, but together it's one piece. But when you take the time to look, so there's like texture, on the inside. I don't know if you can really see with my lighting in here is crap, but there's texture on the inside of the rings because of how I shape it, and then there's like texture on the outside, and the whole finish is very important to me. I'm very detail orientated, but it's very simple. There's only like 3 elements in most of my pieces. I don't just throw something on there just because. There's a reason why I put everything in.
Yes, very
So there you go.
Now you also have a stunning necklace that
I do. I have a couple. I know there's I don't know if the collectors are here. I haven't looked to see who's here now. Kathy bought one in the last show, but I have several pieces of turquoise that I purchased some raw turquoise in September last year, and my stone cutter, who's also my assistant, then so they're like rough nuggets, and then he cuts them into the shapes. He's very good at finding, kind of like Michelangelo. He brings out the elements of the stone, and then there's always this element of surprise when you cut a stone. You don't know what's going to happen, what's going to show. And so this is a piece that a couple of collectors are like fighting over.
I adore that one.
I had to stop her she came to pick up some work, and she's like, Kim, I'd like to buy this. I said, no, I'm sorry, you can't. So this is, so she's now signed up. And then I've started this new thing. This is very new for me, is weaving chain. And I think that's the knitter in me. I mean, I'm a crap knitter. I just love doing something with my hands. But now I can do something that I can actually use. And because how many knitted scarves do I need? Not one. But this one, I can just keep going, and I can make fat ones and skinny ones and long ones, and I can do gold. I'm going to do gold this summer. I have some art fairs at the end of the summer. I don't think I can do a whole one in gold because gold's so crazy, but I might do like a little section of gold or something. I love mixing metals because a lot of people wear silver and gold. Like I have gold wedding band and then wear silver jewelry. So I love doing that. But yeah, this is huge. This is a huge piece.
Oh my gosh. Well, and so so this piece will be available during the Artburst show.
Yeah. And there's a fun you get to see the back, so you can see the matrix is continued from the front.
Oh my gosh, you could wear it both ways.
Well, no, because it's pretty big.
Oh,
so it's almost like half of an egg. I mean, it is the size of a duck egg. I mean, it's huge. It's ridiculous.
I know,
so Kathy said
it's beautiful on both sides, just like the ring.
Well, that's your little secret that you hold close to your heart. That's your surprise. But it's a short necklace because you want it to sit. I'm not wearing appropriate clothing, but
oh my goodness,
I had a hard time figuring. I cannot make decisions in the morning. So yeah. So actually, this would sit better on somebody with a little. This is like just over 16 inches. It's like 17 inches, I think. 17. So yeah, because if I made everything just fit for me, it wouldn't really work. But I really like it. It's really stunning, and I love that I'm making my own chains now and neck wires because I used to buy them in, and I still will use them in some of my less expensive pieces. But when I'm charging what I'm charging for this, everything's handmade. Everything's handmade. I don't cast anything, so even the little clasp is handmade, and I knitted this, wove it.
Yeah. Oh,
and I love making it. I get attached to my bigger pieces, not my jewelry, my silverware. I get more attached to those pieces than I do my jewelry.
Well, and you've been doing it now, you said, for a lot of years. I mean,
yes, ma'am. Long time.
Yeah. So I love that you have continued that and that you continue to grow and learn new things. So Jennifer says, so stunning. He says, yes, I'm blessed to share studio space with Kim, and I am constantly
Hi, Kathy. I hope you're coming into the studio today, Kathy.
And then Rebecca says, you combine clean lines and interesting texture in such unique ways. They feel intentional, thoughtful, and masterful.
Very good. I like that. Thank you.
We'll have to copy and paste all those comments so that you have them. They are.
Oh, I make note of what people say. It really helps me talk about my work. I really do listen to what Hannah was saying about people coming into your booth. I only do 2 shows. And I do the odd trunk show and the odd other thing, but I love talking to clients. I love hearing what they say about my work. I love their kind of offhand sometimes commenting like, oh, had you ever thought about doing that? I mean, sometimes that can be annoying, but sometimes it's like, oh, no, that's a great idea. I might do that, because you get so into what you do that you get a little bit of blinders on. I mean, not that you try to, but and then somebody sees something else, like they get the work, and I'm like, it would be amazing if you could do blah. And I'm like, yeah. And I have my collectors who buy a lot from me. They push me. And I have a male collector who he got me into making really big rings, like regularly, and big bracelets, cuffs, bangles, the whole thing. So I'm just like, all right, that's great, because my eyesight, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm making, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I am a silversmith, so I make vessels and things like that. So I like working big.
Kathy says statement pieces.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, well, Kim is joining us for her second show with Artburst, and we're just delighted to host her. All of her work is so unique and so special, and it's true about there's something about adding a piece of jewelry, even when you're in blue
Mm.
jeans, that just kind of makes a little bit of a statement for you when you're going out into the world. And so finding those perfect pieces. Now, Kim, you also do commissions. Is that right?
The bulk of my work is commission. So I always have a collection of work. That's part of the reason I like doing exhibitions, because they push me to kind of make things that I maybe normally wouldn't make. So the knitting, when you said unexpected twist, I started twisting. The twisting thing really, I just had a visual, probably like Jennifer, of twisting. I have twist things. I hate twists, actually. But I'm like, wait, maybe weaving is twisting. So it's my version of twisting. It's the twisting wire, manipulating. I looked up the word twisting. This is one of my design process things. Is I sometimes do word maps, and so I like have the word twist, and then I'll look it up in a thesaurus or whatever, online, and I just find words that associate with it, and so I could justify the whole thing. And so yeah, twist is and I do like something unexpected, either in visually, but also like this necklace. It's like, oh, we love the thing, but then when you get it and you go, oh my God, look at the little peekaboo in the back, and so then that's just like your little secret, and you might show it to somebody if somebody admires it. And
Yeah.
I mean, and it's really important for me that the work of the hand shows. So I've had people say it's so nice to see jewelry that's made by hand, because so much of jewelry, most jewelry is cast. Not that casting isn't handmade, because often most of the art jewelers I know, they cast it's just one piece, one thing, and it's unique. But and casting has its place, and I haven't used lost wax casting. I use sand casting or precious metal clay. I press it into a mold, so it has its place for sure. That people can see hammer marks, and although I've been doing this so long, so I'm pretty good at like cleaning up a bezel and everything. I want my hammer marks, so even on the edge of the ring you can see little hammer marks, and I kind of want you to know what went into it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's because I like making it's, and that's the other thing. When I worked for somebody who cast most of her jewelry and I was her assistant, I just clean castings all the time. I'm like, this is not what I want to do. But I'll tell you what the casting showed me was, when we get the castings in, they were all white. And I'm like, why are they white? They're silver. And it's because the fine silver is on the surface from the extreme heat process it's gone through. So I intentionally do that with a lot of my work. It's called depletion plating. So the fine silver's on the surface and I don't polish it. So it's white. It's like white matte. People think it's enamel or something. And that's another thing. So, even though I learned what I didn't want to do, I learned something about the materials that I love, and can bring that out and intentionally create that. It's like a patina, if you will.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Janet says, Kim has changed the way I look at jewelry. She's taking me on a wonderful journey of silver and gold. Thank you.
Hi, Janet.
Okay, is there anything else that you would like art lovers to know today?
I have a kind of MO and I teach a little bit, but I think handmade things, not just jewelry, but glass and ceramics are so important in the human history. And I want you to support your local artists instead of going to Crate and Barrel. And I love me some Crate and Barrel, don't get me wrong. Try to buy bowls from a ceramic artist, try to buy glassware from a glass blower, try to buy jewelry from a local artist. And this is my plea for the crafts, because I mean, art, who doesn't love art? But I really want you to think more about like those things that you use every day. Like I'm drinking out of a mug that's handmade by a ceramic artist. Yeah, absolutely. And when you travel, it's a great way to get souvenirs from craftspeople and bring them to people and have a little treasure that somebody hand painted or crafted or carved or cast or whatever. So please support your local artists. We use this as a living. We're really good at living frugally. We're not trying to like take cruises around the world or anything, but we love what we do, and we want to share it with you and share our human history and celebrate you with what we do. So make every day a celebration with art.
That's awesome. It goes back to the stories behind all of the pieces, and the fact that, by everyone buying, pieces and taking that into consideration, you could hit an artist when they're at a low point, and your purchase could
Can change everything.
Inspiration to continue.
I've had that, it's like I was at a point, my beginning of the year was really slow, and I'm like, dang, this is like, an economy and everybody's watching their money. I get it. And then suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to turn. I have so much work going on. But it can change. It can make everything the difference. It can make a difference in so much.
Oh, it truthfully can. So I think that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Kim.
Thank you. And I'm so happy to be in a second show, and I love the Artburst family, and I'm glad to be part of it. And thank you all for coming today. It's great I could talk all day about it. So
I know, it's just fun. It's fun. We love what we do, and I think it shows in a lot of the work that we send out into the world. So again, go on our Meet the Artist page so you can learn more about Kim there. Kim will have a collection of 10 to 12 original pieces, and some of them are sets. So as you already saw, so that's really exciting. So you can contact her through those links if you have any questions between now and the time the show begins about some of the pieces that she'll have available. So we're less than 4 weeks away from the An Unexpected Twist show, hosted on artburststudios.com. And if you've never been in one of the shows, they are really exciting and really fun. And there will be more than 150 original works of art. And as you've already seen, the artists have such beautifully unique styles, and you're bound to find something that you absolutely fall in love with. So make a note. The show opens on May 29th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And then our next scheduled Artburst Live interview, featuring more artists in this upcoming show, we'll be featuring April Oddie, Leslie Miller, and Rebecca Berman, and that will be on May 14th at 6 p.m. So we'll send that information out. So we don't want you to miss a thing. So become part of the Artburst family. Make sure you subscribe on the website so that you get the latest news and what's coming up. And we really appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday morning to join us. So we hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.